Isaac's picking the next game,
Here we
and
go.
it is Manifold Garden, which he
What?
described as it's like Portal but infinite.
What the fuck?
Okay. Yeah, cool. All right. All right.
I believe it's a puzzle game.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Oh, fuck, man. No. Manifold Garden is a game that I was initially on the fence about. Look, I love puzzle games. I do. You know, I love like Portal. I love Blueprints. I love Portal 2. I love that one that you're on the island. Yeah, you know, like and that Portal 2 co-op. Whew, and then I played Portal again, etc. Look, truth be told, I haven't played many, but the ones I played I liked. So today I thought I'd run you through my experience of Manifold Garden and also what I learned about its development along the way. Is that cool with you guys? I mean, you're here already, so you might as well watch. I mean, I guess, you know, I mean, you can stick around, we can hang out, I can tell you about how I had really quite the time with this one. Manifold Garden is a bit of a different puzzle game. One that doesn't expect you to have a bachelor's degree in order to solve its puzzles. But it does expect you to have one to understand what the hell world wrapping is. I mean, Jesus Christ, what is a three torus? Like, what do you mean we can't visualize it? We can only visualize what it's like to be a three-dimensional being on the plane. I didn't find Manifold Garden on my own. It's actually the monthly game for Little Game Club that I'm a part of. Think of it like a book club, but for games. Specifically indie games at the moment. We started back in October of 2024, and so far we've worked our way through Pentiment, Signalis, Wizardom, Inscription, great game, Flyknight, Dredge, and now Manifold Garden. I'm planning on doing monthly video recaps on these games, so look forward to those and stick around to the end of the video to see what we'll be playing next month. And, fun fact, I also live stream every single play session on twitch.tv/Ethan_Gosatti, that is twitch.tv/Ethan_Gosatti, that is twitch.tv/Ethan. Creator of Manifold Garden, William Chyr, started off as a large-scale balloon artist. Some of his work can be seen here. One day, though, William found his throat closing over when he was blowing up his balloons. Odd. And he later discovered that he developed an allergy to latex, which, funnily enough, makes it hard to do large-scale nature-inspired balloon artworks made up of literally thousands of balloons. And so, he hung up his balloons and began looking for his next medium. He looked into glass, too hard, looked into fabric, too soft, and those logistics, overwhelming. He wanted to do something large-scale, infinite, even, but also affordable. And what better place to look than video games? Not having a background in video games before, he looked to video games and found his true infinity. Inspired by both Relativity by MC Escher and that one scene from Inception where in Paris, you know, when it folds in on itself and Leonardo DiCaprio and they kind of like walk up the stairs. Anyway, William set out to create a game that reimagines physics by letting the player walk on any plane they wanted. The game came a long way after 6 years of development. The initial version of the game was simply called Relativity and looked very different to the Manifold Garden we know today. The initial version was quite simplistic, all things considered. Well, I mean, I guess at least compared to this. Okay. So William just started with an inside. It was really simple. Started with a single room and a couple of puzzle rooms leading towards each other. And then the playtesters asked for a light and shadows for more depth so they can see where the blocks were going. And so William added that. And then playtesters said, hey, Will, where does that light come from? Where's the shadow come from? So William added windows to show them where the light's coming from. And then players were outside and they said, I want to go over there. So William added over there. Players started going outside and they started falling off, which was bad. But William didn't want invisible walls in his game, so 3D world wrapping was introduced, which created a massive amount of solutions for not only the whole outside thing, but also previous problems that arose in development of the game. Such as when William had found some difficulty in designing levels to appear infinite and endless, inspired by the works of Escher, but in fact they would have an end. One in particular instance, he started modeling a level with a multitude of pylons to have an infinite expanse of them, but later found that the 3D world wrapping made those pylons repeat without having to model and place them individually. They would just go on forever because they were wrapped around each other. From Chyr's own words, the whole puzzle design philosophy for this game was for the player to not have to go through what he called exam puzzles, but to be introduced to a concept or mechanic and have that brilliant aha moment and continue on moving throughout the world. That's it. Exploration and discovery at the heart of a puzzle game? Well, who would have thunk? Chyr has said along the way that he was inspired by games like Skyrim and Portal. He loved the exploration of Skyrim, that you could see a place and just go there. No, nothing in your way, just straight there. I see it, I'm going. And he loved the compartmentalization of puzzles in Portal, separated by chambers. And you can see that in this game. This is one of those games that if you see somewhere you want to get to, you can. Thanks to our good old friend World Wrapping once again. Remember him? So it's like a two-torus in the times of old, so when they would like wrap a thing so you could go off the left and right, but then it's a three-torus, which again, we're unable to actually comprehend as three-dimensional beings because we can kind of visualize how, like, as a three-dimensional being, we can sit on the three-torus, but it's actually a 4D shaped object, so when we look at what we are, like, as a being in a 3D space and looking out into the fourth dimension. Like Portal, each new mechanic in this game is introduced at a steady pace, and in their own space. These new mechanics, whilst there aren't many, are spaced out enough so you don't feel overwhelmed with them, and just as the pace starts to hint at getting stale, we're back-to-back tracking through levels, picking up new blocks to bring to different areas, etc., but all the while knowing exactly when to puzzle and when to be exploring. William refers to this as gating, so leaving the puzzle solving mostly to indoor spaces where you can't get lost, like Skyrim's dungeons again, and then leaves the outdoor spaces for exploring. Mostly. Like until you get to the later levels, or you try to platinum the game. More on that later. By the end of its 6-year development cycle, Manifold Garden had become, quote, a metaphor for the last 400 years of physics. She started by discovering gravity like Newton and eventually the shape of the universe like Susskind. That string theory guy? I don't know, man. I actually got really, really lost in my research when I hit quantum physics. I mean, you get it right. This game is not very long. It's about 3.5 hours to 4 hours, so I decided to live stream it on Twitch and set myself the task of getting every single trophy so you don't have to. That's twitch.tv/Ethan_Gosatti. The first playthrough of the game is pretty straightforward. There's a few brain teasers here and there and a bit of walking around aimlessly, getting overwhelmed by the infinite instances of levels, the usual affair. I fell in love with the game quite quickly. It had been a while since I had an experience that brought me straight back to the feeling of playing Portal 2 in Year 4. The visuals are obviously stunning, but everything just works in this game as well. Like, for example, I heard somewhere a quote that the perfect soundtrack is one that you don't necessarily remember hearing, but you remember feeling. The music in Manifold Garden is timed so perfectly that you just feel awe at every necessary moment. Oh my god. The game follows a simple structure. You work your way through levels that increase in both difficulty and size and try to bring life to this infinite world of the Manifold Garden. As you move through the stages, you build different worlds according to the different planes of space. So starting with the blue God Cube, created from the blue Dark Cube. Eventually you make your way through all the levels, finish your garden, and enter the Rainbow level. Retrieving the Rainbow God Cube for your troubles and making your way to the infinite drop that brings some PC crippling but stunning visuals. And once those are done, you're at the credits. Simples. Damn. I love this game on the first playthrough. It was awesome. But you only need to do one more run in order to get that platinum. That shouldn't be too bad, right? Wrong. The inquisitive among you may have seen that my Platinum Manifold Garden stream was 5 hours in total, one of which was actually devoted to my finishing of my first playthrough. After finishing the game, I was feeling pretty good about myself, I knew I had to play again, I knew all the mechanics and puzzles. This next run should be a piece of cake, right? I'm not doing anything too crazy. I found a guide to help me out on the Steam forums, and I started making my way through the game once again, but this time we're taking secret paths. We're trying to 0% the game by placing none of our beautiful God Cubes. All was well. I had some friends in my Twitch chat keeping me company. Bish, bash, bosh. I thought we'd be done in an hour, but how very wrong I was. This 0% run of the game ended up taking me 4 hours, no thanks in part to the god-awful guide that I chose. I mean, Jesus, Sir Jonah, you'd think after hand-holding me through steps 1 through 6, you'd continue the trend. No, this guide gets so vague, just as you're about 50 minutes to an hour into your playthrough, and I was very lucky to find out that an earlier step in this guide makes the run so much harder. Let me explain. At this point in the game, you can see me enter this room. There's 3 red blocks and a yellow changing beam. In a normal playthrough, you use this yellow changing beam and these power points to eventually make a path and power this red door up here. Bosh. However, according to the guide, what you have to do for the 0% run is dog walk a yellow cube up the wall to move the yellow cube out of the room and place it in a PowerPoint that sits just outside to open up a shortcut door. That seems fairly straightforward, you know, until you realize this actually extends the run quite a lot, and it's way easier to just play through this section as normal and get a double color cube from somewhere else and bring it back to that room. This is something I only realized later, and I got stuck looking for 2 yellow and green cubes that you need near the very end of the run. So I thought I'd give you a few clips of me in a bit of a state. Oh no. Oh no. Where the fuck did he get that second one from? This is fucking despair, man. Dude, I'm lost. I'm really fucking lost. This is fucking bullshit. This is some horse shit. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so then we need to... Oh, fucking Christ, no. No, hold on. Let this end soon. I don't know how much more I can deal with this. So Joiner, the son of a bitch, made it so that I got lost and turned around, right? I pretty well went back to square one and ended up following a video of this guy and just pressing pause whenever I fell behind. By the way, thank you, Brie, for keeping me company on the live stream. I really appreciate it. I literally would have lost my mind if I didn't have people there to support me. In the end, I pushed through this minor setback and I replaced the yellow dog walked cube up with a yellow and green one and went on my merry way. Eventually, you pull some trickery with the water flow. I found a few hidden doors, and you make your way to the final drop, but instead of being normal this time, it's in negative tones. Ooh. I finished the game in that stream and put Manifold Garden to bed soon after. First platinum of the year, check. I haven't played a game like Manifold Garden before. I mean, truly, this is a game that, despite seeming really difficult and just looking batshit insane, is actually very approachable, all the while providing breathtaking visuals and enough minimalistic storytelling to let your imagination run wild with the theories and the ideas of this world. The music just hits, and I never experienced a single bug in my entire run, which I feel like I need to point out with the amount of bugs that are in AAA games nowadays. What started as a small concept of an idea by a latex-allergic balloon artist blossomed into a tremendous experience in the exploration of gravity, quantum physics, and just damn good game design. Now, I know a few of my friends thought a little bit differently. They've got a few critical thoughts on this game. Jeremy, I'm looking at you. But we can all discuss those in the comments and on the live stream chat. That's twitch.tv/Ethan_Gosatti, by the way. So, April has come to a close, and I've got another platinum trophy under my belt in 2025. What's next, Ethan? What's next? What's the game for May going to be? I hear you ask. Well, I'll tell you right now. One man's trash is another crab's treasure. Feel free to play along this month and join in the conversation over on Twitch on Blue Sky. I shall see everyone for the next installment of Game Club next month. See you later, team.